Hello everybody, this is Refresh and I'm here to bring you a battle between the Throne of Eldrain Planeswalker decks and the Face the Hydra challenge deck from Theros. I'll be playing two games, first on normal difficulty and then on hard mode, and I'll be using two hero cards for this purpose. I have the Harvester, which says tap, draw a card, then discard a card, and then the Warrior, which says tap, target creature you control gains haste until end of turn. Because I only have one copy of each of these cards, I'm going to be applying both of these cards to both Planeswalker decks simultaneously. We'll go ahead and get started with 7 cards apiece. Oko draws Bramblefort Fink, Forest, Mistford River Turtle, Forest, Island, Bramblefort Fink, and Bramblefort Fink. It's a lot of Bramblefort Finks, but I think this is an okay starting hand with the 2/2s. Rowan draws a Plains, Windscarred Crag, Ardenvale Tactician, Plains, Rowan's Battle Guard, Ardenvale Tactician, and Scorching Dragonfire. I think this is an alright start, so we'll go ahead and keep that as well. Because this is multiplayer, we'll draw before the first turn. Oko draws an Island, and Rowan draws a Garrison Griffin. We'll go ahead and start by playing a Forest over here, and we will play the Windscarred Crag. This is a land, and it says Windscarred Crag enters the battlefield tapped. When it enters the battlefield tapped, you gain 1 life. You can tap it to add red or white. And then we will pass to the Hydra. The Hydra will cast the topmost card, which is Torn Between Heads. Tap up to 2 heads. They don't untap during the Hydra's next untap step. Torn Between Heads deals 5 damage to each player. So we'll tap these 2 heads. We'll take 5 damage plus another 1 from the untapped head to take 6 damage apiece, taking us down to 14 each. Then at the end of the turn, we'll tap the Harvester. Oko will draw a Oko's Hospitality, and we will discard the Mistford River Turtle. Rowan will draw a Weaselback Redcap, and we will discard the Scorching Dragonfire. And then we will untap. Oko draws a Marrowleaf Pixie, and Rowan draws a Plains. We will go ahead and play the Plains over here, and we will play the Island over here. We will tap the Windscarred Crag over here to cast the Weaselback Redcap. This is a 1/1 Goblin Knight, and for 1 and a red, it gets +2/+0 until end of turn. And then over here, we'll tap both of these, and we will play the Marrowleaf Pixie. This is a 2/2 fairy with flying, and you can tap it to add green or blue. We are going to tap the Warrior to give each of these haste, and we'll attack the 1 untapped Hydra head. That will kill the Hydra head. We will gain 2 life apiece per its hero's reward to go up to 16 each. And then we will reveal 2 cards to see if there are any new heads. There is a new Hydra head. And then we will pass the turn to the Hydra. The Hydra will cast the topmost card, which is Swallow the Hero Whole. Each player exiles a creature he or she controls until the head's next turn. When a head leaves the battlefield, return the exiled cards to the battlefield under their owner's control. Unfortunately, this exiles the only 2 cards that the Planeswalker decks were able to muster, and so they are exiled. We are going to take 1 damage from the untapped head, and then the heads will untap on the following turn. At the end of the turn, we're going to use a Harvester. Oko will draw a Oko's Accomplices, and then we will discard the Oko's Accomplices because they're not quite as good as the 2/2s due to the Hydra's particular defenses. Rowan will draw a Windscarred Crag, and then we were going to discard 1 of the Plains, and then we will untap. Oko draws an Oko's Accomplices, and Rowan draws a Mountains. We will go ahead and play the Mountains over here, and we will play the Forest over here. We're going to tap all the mana over here and play the Oko's Accomplices. These are 2/3 fairies with flying. And over here, we'll tap all the mana and play the Garrison Griffin. This is a 2/2 Griffin with flying, and whenever it attacks, target knight you control gains flying until end of turn. All the flying doesn't matter against a Hydra. We just need them for the bodies, and they are appropriately costed. We're going to tap the Warrior to give each of these creatures haste, and we'll go ahead and attack the untapped Hydra head, which will then die. We'll gain 2 life apiece to go up to 17 each, and then we will reveal 2 cards to see if there are any new heads. There is a Snapping Fang head. This is a 0/8 elite head, and beginning of the Hydra's end step, Snapping Fang head deals 1 damage to each player, and when Snapping Fang head leaves the battlefield, each player gains 4 life and draws a card. Because we have removed a head from the battlefield, the effect of Swallow the Hero Whole ends, and we will get back our creatures. And then we will go to the Hydra's turn. The Hydra will untap, and the Hydra will cast the topmost card, which is Distract the Hydra. Each player may sacrifice a creature. Each player who sacrifices a creature this way chooses a head and taps it. Each player who didn't sacrifice a creature this way loses 3 life. I think we need to keep building our board presence, and we have enough life that we can lose 3 life. So we're going to lose 3 life, plus another 3 from the Snapping Fang head, and another 2 from the 2 untapped Hydra heads, to lose a total of 8 life, taking us to 9 apiece. At the end of the turn, we'll use the Harvester. Oko draws an Oko's Accomplices, and we'll discard the Accomplices. Rowan draws a Plains, and we'll discard the Plains. Then we'll untap. Oko draws a Tome Raider, and Rowan draws a Plains. We will play the Plains, and we will play the island over here. On this side, we are going to tap all the mana, and we will play 2 Bramblefort Finks. These are 2/2 oafs. And for 8 mana, Bramblefort Fink has base power and toughness 10/10 until end of turn. Activate this ability only if you control an Oko Planeswalker. These are just 2/2s, but we have bodies on the battlefield to do more potential damage. Over here, we will tap all of the land, and we will just cast a single Rowan's Battle Guard. This is a 3/3 human knight with first strike. As long as you control a Rowan Planeswalker, Rowan's Battle Guard gets +3/+0. So it doesn't do much right now, but we are going to go ahead and use the warrior to give this Bramblefort Fink haste and this Rowan's Battle Guard haste. And then we will attack with everybody, attacking with Rowan into the Snapping Fang head, and that is a total of 6 damage. So we just need to add 2 more. The Oko's Accomplices will join to finish off the Fang head, and then we'll tap the Pixie and the Fink into another regular Hydra head. We'll kill both of these, getting us 6 life and drawing us a card each, taking us to 15 each. Oko draws a Wildborn Preserver, and Rowan draws a Mountain. We'll go ahead and reveal 4 cards to see if there are any new heads. We have 2 new heads. We have a regular Hydra head, which I failed to mention before, is a 0/3 head, and when it leaves the battlefield, each player gains 2 life. And a Ravenous Brute head, which is 0/6 elite head, and when it leaves the battlefield, each player gains 2 life and draws a card. Then we have reached the end of the turn, so we will pass the turn back to the Hydra. The Hydra will cast the topmost card, which is another Hydra head. And so we have 5 damage coming from the heads, taking us down to 10 apiece. And then at the end of the turn, we'll use the Harvester. Oko draws a Forest, and we will discard the Forest. Rowan draws an Inspiring Veteran, and we will discard the Windscarred Crag. We'll untap. Oko draws a Charmed Sleep. Rowan draws a Windscarred Crag. We will play the Plains, and we will play no lands over here. We will, however, cast for 3 mana the Tome Raider in hopes of drawing another land. This is a 1/1 fairy with flying, and when it enters the battlefield, we'll draw a card. We draw a Marrowleaf Pixie, which isn't a land, but you know what? We can tap the Marrowleaf Pixie and the Forest to also cast the Marrowleaf Pixie, which acts as land anyways. And then over here, we will spend 5 mana. We will tap a red and a white to play the Inspiring Veteran. This is a 2/2 human knight. Other knights you control get +1/+1. All of these creatures happen to be knights except for the Griffin. And then we'll tap the rest of the mana to cast the Ardenvale Tactician. This is a 2/3 human knight with flying. It also has an adventure ability, but that doesn't matter right now because we're not using it. And then we are going to tap the warrior to give the Ardenvale Tactician and the Marrowleaf Pixie haste, and we will go on and attack again. We're going to be attacking the Rowan's Battle Guard and the Weaselback Rider, as well as the Garrison Griffin into the Ravenous Brute head. We'll attack the Ardenvale Tactician into one of the Hydra heads. We will attack with the Marrowleaf Pixie into the same Hydra head. The Oko's Accomplices and the Bramblefort Fink will attack another Hydra head, and this has Summoning Sickness, so we can't attack with a Tome Raider, which means that we won't be able to kill everything this turn. But we'll kill 2 Hydra heads and a Ravenous Brute head, netting a total of 6 life apiece, taking us up to 16 each, and then drawing us a card each. Oko draws an island, and Rowan draws a Windscarred Crag. We'll go ahead and play the island right now. And then we will reveal 6 cards to see if there are any new heads. All right, we have a Ravenous Brute head, a Hydra head, and a Savage Vigorhead. This is a 0/8 elite head. At the beginning of the Hydra's end step, reveal the top card of the Hydra's library, and the Hydra casts that card. The rest will go into the Hydra's graveyard. And then we will pass to the Hydra. The Hydra will cast the topmost card, which is Noxious Hydra Breath. Choose one. Noxious Hydra Breath deals 5 damage to each player, or destroy each tapped non-head creature. At this point, we don't want to lose all our tapped non-head creatures, so we're going to take 5 damage apiece, on top of the 6 damage that is over there. So we will go ahead and start with the 5 damage, because the Hydra is going to cast another card. We may have to make other choices. That'll take us to 11 each, and we will not lose any creatures. And then the Hydra will cast the topmost card, which is Strike the Weak Spot. Destroy target head. If that head was elite, the Hydra takes an extra turn after this one. I don't think we actually want to let the Hydra take another turn. We will be able to kill everything on the following turn, so we're going to go ahead and remove one of the regular Hydra heads, and we will gain 2 life apiece to take us back up to 13 each. And then we will reveal 2 cards to see if there are any new heads. There are no new heads. And then we'll take the additional 5 damage apiece to go down to 8 each. At the end of the turn, we'll use the Harvester. Oko will draw a Forest, and we will discard the Charmed Sleep. Rowan will draw a Venerable Knight, and we will discard the Windscarred Crag. And then we'll untap. I just realized I forgot to count the Inspiring Veteran's ability to pump all of these, so we should have been able to kill off all of the heads, but that is life, sometimes you forget. Then we'll draw. Oko draws a Thornwood Falls, and Rowan draws a Mountain. We'll play the Mountain, and we will play the Forest. And then we will play, for 2 mana, the Wildborn Preserver. This is a 2/2 Elf Archer with Flash and Reach, and whenever another non-human creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may pay X. When you do, put X +1/+1 counters on Wildborn Preserver. And then we will go ahead and tap 2 more mana to cast the 3rd Bramblefort Fink, which we've already seen before. Because it is a non-human creature, we can tap more mana, and so we will do so. We'll tap 4 more mana to use the Wildborn Preserver's ability and put 4 +1/+1 counters on it. This makes it a 6/6. Meanwhile, we will tap 3 mana here and 1 mana here and cast the Ardenvale Tactician as well as a Venerable Knight. The Venerable Knight is a 2/1 human knight, and when it dies, you put a +1/+1 counter on target knight you control. And then what we'll do is we will tap the Warrior, we will give the Wildborn Preserver haste, and we will give the Venerable Knight haste, and then we will go on the attack. We will take the Venerable Knight and the Old Ardenvale Tactician as a total of 6 damage to finish off the Ravenous Brute head. And then we will attack into the Savage Vigor head with the Wildborn Preserver and the Oko's Accomplices to finish it off. And finally, we will attack with the Tome Raider and one of the Bramblefort Finks into the final Hydra head to finish it off. This will deal all the damage necessary to kill all the heads. This will get us a total of 8 life apiece and 2 cards. We'll gain 8 life to go up to 16 each. And then Oko will draw a Fairy Vandal as well as an island. Meanwhile, Rowan will draw a Rowan Stalwarts and a Knight of the Keep. And then we have no other plays for this turn, but we will reveal 6 cards to see if there are any new heads. We have a single Hydra head, and then we'll pass the turn to the Hydra, which will cast the topmost card, which is Disorienting Glower. Players can't cast spells until the Hydra's next turn. It's perfectly fine by me. At the end of the turn, we'll use the Harvester. Oko will draw a Thornwood Falls and discard a Thornwood Falls. Rowan will draw a Plains and will discard the Windscarred Crag, and then we'll untap. Oko draws a Garenbrig Carver, while Rowan draws a Mountain. We'll play the Mountain here. We'll play the Thornwood Falls tapped, because we can't cast any spells this turn anyhow. And then we will go ahead and attack the final Hydra head with the Weaselback Red Cap. Since we can't cast spells, we might as well just pump the Red Cap to be a 4/2 that will kill the final Hydra head. This will gain us 2 more life to take us up to 18 each. And then we will reveal 2 cards to see if there are any new heads. There is a Hydra head. We have a way of removing it as of this turn, and so we are stuck waiting until the next turn. We will pass the turn, and the Hydra will cast the topmost card. The Hydra casts Torn Between Heads. We've seen this before. We'll tap this, and we'll take 5 damage apiece to take us down to 13 each. And then at the end of the turn, we'll use the Harvester again. Oko will draw a Frogify and will discard the Frogify. Rowan will draw an Inspiring Veteran and we will discard the Mountain. We'll untap. Oko draws a Beanstalk Giant and Rowan draws a Garrison Griffin. We're going to spend 2 mana over here and we will cast the Inspiring Veteran, which you've seen before. Now all of our creatures are even bigger. We forgot to play a plane, so we'll do that over here. We'll play the island over here. And then, this head is dead, so we might as well just attack with a 3/3 Weaselback Redcap. Finish it off. We will gain 2 life apiece to go back up to 15, and we will see if there are any new heads. There are no new heads, and so the Throne of Eldrain Planeswalkers defeat the Hydra, and we will be right back for Game 2 on Hard Mode. Alright, we are back for Hard Mode. There are now 4 Hydra heads assembled, and we will get started by drawing our opening hands. Oko draws a Marrowleaf Pixie, a Frogify, Fairy Vandal, Forest, Oko's Accomplices, Mistford, River Turtle, and Forest. We do not have any blue mana, so we cannot keep this hand. However, because this is multiplayer, we will get a free mulligan. Oko draws a Tome Raider, a Thornwood Falls, a Garambig Carver, an Island, a Forest, a Frogify, and a Marrowleaf Pixie. It's not an amazing hand, but it's certainly a keepable one. Rowan draws a Knight of the Keep, Joust, Youthful Knight, Weapon Rack, Plains, Rowan's Battle Guard, and Inspiring Veteran. There's only 1 land here, so we're going to take a mulligan here as well. Rowan draws an Inspiring Veteran, a Garrison Griffin, a Plains, a Scorching Dragonfire, a Windscarred Crag, and a Weapon Rack. Not a great hand, but it is one that will do the job for now. We'll go ahead on our first turn and play a Thornwood Fall over here. This is a land that enters the battlefield tap. When it enters the battlefield, we'll gain 1 life. That'll take us up to 21 over here, and we'll do the same with the Windscarred Crag, which we remember from before. I think I skipped getting the life in the last video, but it didn't seem to matter. Alright, and then we'll pass to the Hydra, which casts the topmost card, which is a Ravenous Brute head. There are 5 heads with 6 power between them assembled, so we'll take 6 damage apiece to go down to 15 each. And then at the end of the turn, we'll use the Harvester. Oko will draw a Forest, and we will discard the Frogify. Rowan will draw a Mountain, and we will discard the Weapon Rack. And then we'll untap. Oko draws a Thornwood Falls, and Rowan will draw a Mountain. We will go ahead and play the Forest over here. We'll tap the Thornwood Falls for blue, and the Forest, and we'll play a Marrowleaf Pixie. And over here we will play a Plains, and we'll tap the Plains and the Windscarred Crag for red, and we'll play an Inspiring Veteran. And then we will tap the Warrior to give them both haste. We will go ahead and attack into one of the Hydra heads, removing it from the battlefield, getting 2 life apiece to go back up to 17 each. And then we'll reveal 2 cards to see if there are any new heads. There is a new Hydra head. And then we'll pass to the Hydra's turn. They will cast the topmost card, which is a Shrieking Titan head. It is a 0/8 elite head, and at the beginning of the Hydra's end step, each player discards a card. Hero's Reward, when it leaves the battlefield, each player gains 4 life and draws a card. We're going to take 8 damage here to go down to 9 each, and we'll each discard a card. Oko will discard the Thornwood Falls, and Rowan will discard a Mountain. And then we'll untap. Oko draws an Island, and Rowan draws a Mountain. We forgot to use the Harvester, so we can do that right now, see if we have any better options. Oko will draw a Charm Sleep and immediately discard that. Rowan will draw a Windscarred Crag, and I don't think that's going to do us any good anymore either, so we'll discard that as well. And then we will go ahead and play an Island over here, and a Mountain over here, and then we will tap 3 mana, and play the Garrison Griffin over here. We've seen that before. We need to stop the Shrieking Titan head, so we're going to use the Garambig Carver's second ability. We are going to attack into the Garambig Carver for 6 damage here. However, we're going to tap the Forest and the Island over here and cast the Garambig Carver's Adventure ability, which is Shield's Might. It's an instant target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. Then exile this card. You may cast the creature later from exile, which means that this will defeat the Shrieking Titan head. We'll gain 4 life apiece to go back up to 13. We'll draw a card each. Oko draws an Island, and Rowan draws a Garrison Griffin. We have nothing else that we can do this turn, so we will pass back to the Hydra, which will cast the topmost card, which is grown from the stump. Put exactly 2 cards named Hydra Head onto the battlefield from the Hydra's graveyard. If you can't reveal cards from the top of the Hydra's library until you reveal a head card, put that card onto the battlefield and the rest into the Hydra's graveyard. We'll put a Hydra Head onto the battlefield. We'll discard the rest. We're going to be taking a total of 7 damage to take us down to 6 this turn. At the end of the turn, we can't use the Harvester, so we will just pass the turn and untap. Oko draws a Keeper of Fables, and Rowan will draw a Plains. We will play a Plains, and we will play a Force over here. I think we need more options. We need to kill more things. Alright, so we have 5 mana, and the Keeper of the Fables does good damage and will draw us cards. So we're going to tap all 5 mana over here, and we'll cast Keeper of Fables, which is a 4/5 cat. Whenever 1 or more non-human creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, draw a card. And then over here, we will spend 3 mana and cast another Garrison Griffin. We'll tap the Warrior to give each of our new creatures haste, and then we are going to go on the attack. We will attack a Garrison Griffin and the Keeper of Fables into a Ravenous Brute Head. We'll attack the other 2 into one of the regular Hydra Heads. That will remove them both from the battlefield. We will gain 4 life apiece to go up to 10. We'll draw a card each. Oko draws Return of the Wildspeaker, and Rowan draws a Scorching Dragonfire. And then Oko will draw another card from Keeper of Fables ability, which will get us another island, and then we will pass turn to the Hydra. The Hydra will cast the topmost card, which is Nectangle. If there are 5 or more heads on the battlefield, tap 2 of them. They don't tap during the Hydra's next untap step. This is not the case. Otherwise, reveal the top card of the Hydra's library, and the Hydra casts that card. So we'll cast this card instead, which is a Noxious Hydra Breath. We take 5 damage, and that will take us down to 1 life apiece after the Hydras take a bite out of us, but that will cause us to lose all of our creatures, which we also can't really afford to do. So we're going to risk it. We'll take the 5 damage plus the other 4 from the heads. It's going to take us all the way down to 1, and hopefully we'll be able to remove a whole bunch of heads this turn. We're going to use the Harvester. Oko draws a Fairy Vandal, and Rowan draws a Plains. We will discard a Plains, and we will discard an island, and then we will untap. Oko will draw a Forest, and Rowan will draw a Garrison Griffin. We have a lot of Garrison Griffins. We're going to play another mountain over here. We'll play an island over here. We will tap 2 mana to play the Fairy Vandal, which is a 1/2 Fairy Rogue with Flash and Flying. Whenever you draw your second card, each turn put a +1/+1 counter on Fairy Vandal. We'll go ahead and tap the other 3 mana here to play the Tome Raider, which is a 1/1 fairy with flying. When it's the battlefield, draw a card that draws us our second card of the turn, which is a Tome Raider. That will get us a counter on the Fairy Vandal. Over here, we will tap 3 mana and play the Garrison Griffin. Then we will tap the Warrior to give our Garrison Griffin and our Fairy Vandal haste, and we're going to go on the attack. The Keeper will kill 1 of them. We will have the Pixie and the Fairy Vandal kill another head. The 2 Garrison Griffins kill another head, and the Veteran and the Griffin kill the last head. That'll kill 4 heads, getting us 8 life apiece, taking us back up to 9. And then we'll reveal 8 cards to see if there are any new heads. There is a single Ravenous Brute head. And then we will pass the turn to the Hydra. The Hydra will cast the topmost card, which is a Unified Lunge. It deals X damage to each player, where X is the number of heads on the battlefield. There's only 1, so we'll take 1 + 2 from the Ravenous Brute head for 3 damage, taking us down to 6 each. At the end of the turn, we'll use the Harvester. Oko draws a Forest, which we would have drawn anyways because of the Keeper. We forgot to do that, so we'll draw another card, which is a Garenbrig Carver. We'll go ahead and discard one of the Forests. Rowan will draw a Knight of the Keep, and we will discard one of the Scorching Dragonfires, and then we'll untap. Oko draws an island, and Rowan draws a Plains. We'll play the Plains over here. We'll play one of the Forests over here, and then we are going to tap 3 mana and play Knight of the Keep, which is a 3/2 human knight, but it's 4/2 because of the Inspiring Veteran. And we'll just go ahead and send in the Knight of the Keep and one of the Garrison Griffins to finish off this Brute Head. We'll gain 2 life apiece to go up to 8 each and draw a card each. Oko draws a Turnvale Treefolk, and Rowan draws a Plains. we are going to cast for 3 mana a Tome Raider, which will get us another card. Oko draws a Oko's Accomplices. We should have gotten the counter on this Fairy Vandal from the card that we got off the Ravenous Brute head. We also need to reveal 2 cards to see if there are any new heads. And there aren't, so we actually defeat the Hydra in the second game. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button. If you'd like to see more of my videos, you can hit subscribe. This was Refresh. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.